If you spend any time building websites, you'll know there's certain things that you have to repeat over and over and over again that kind of get a bit monotonous. Same layouts on new pages or sections that you want to repeat on multiple pages. Well, there's a neat way to do this inside of WordPress now. Let's dissect that today. G'day, I'm Jason Foss. Normally we talk about more strategic things on this channel, but it's Tactical Tuesday, so today's a day where we get our hands a little bit dirty. Looking at a new feature that's been in WordPress since version 6.3, so it's now the start of October 2023, so if your WordPress is up to date as at now, then you should have this in there. So there's two kinds of things that I'm going to talk about. Now they're both called patterns. One's called a syncing pattern and one is called a non-syncing pattern. So if you think of a pattern as sort of like a template that you might put on a page. So you might have an About Us page and you have to add a lot of stuff to it, but they all have the same kind of layout. That would be a non-syncing pattern example, or an example of a syncing pattern example is where you might have a common element throughout the website that needs to be the same on every page in your website. It might be a row where you've got some icons for your services, for example. Instead of having to recreate that on every page, you create it once and reuse it everywhere. So let's have a quick look at how to set those two up now and the differences between them. So the first one I've got here, I'm just going to put a container on here, and let's go for, let's say we're going to put a 2-column container in there. So this might be an image. I'm just going to pick my silly nothing photo there, and here might be a heading, and there might be some details and some other yada yada to go under there. Now this is quite a simple example, but you might build a more complex block, a more complicated block than this. But in order to turn this into a template where I could just drop this on a new page and then replace the photo with the one that I want and replace this with the staff member's name, to use the example before, and details and links, we would choose the parent block. So I'm going to come back here and grab the parent container, so I've got the whole thing there, and from here I can go to the little kebab menu, not the hamburger menu, I learned that the other day. Create a pattern or a reusable block. So this is going to be my, I'll call it my staff block, and I'll say this is not synced. And the reason I'll say it's not synced is because if I drop this on a page and make changes to it, I don't want those changes to reflect on every other time I've used that on the page. Otherwise, every staff member would be looking very much the same. So I'll create that. And we see we've got a confirmation down there. So I'll just collapse that now and go add after. And what I can do is hit the plus button here, and then I've got patterns and my patterns. And there's a couple I've played with earlier, but here's this one that I've just created now, and you'll see it's called staff block. So if I put that on the page, it's got that all layout all there. And let's add another one, my patterns, staff block. And so basically what I've been able to do is drop a bunch of them. Oh, I did something a bit silly there, but that's a good example. I've actually put that container inside there because I didn't pay attention to where my mouse cursor was. I'm going to drag that out. So what we want to make sure that we do is insert after, patterns, my pattern, staff block there. Because what it will do is it will insert that pattern wherever your cursor is. So if your cursor is in the middle of there like mine was before, your new block is going to sit inside that block, which might be useful to you, but it also could create a mess like I just had there. So I've now created 4 of those there. I could go here and go Mary and Fred and Sally and George. And we'll see that changing one hasn't changed any of the others, but they've all got a consistent layout design. So this is really handy if you need to put a couple of things together to make a layout that you want, a couple of nested blocks, or sort some columns out and adjust some sizes and bits and pieces. You can do that, drop each one on the page, and then just modify the contents as you see fit. That's the first one, a non-syncing pattern, nice and easy to set up. All right, now for the second option, which is a syncing pattern. So this is the one where you might use for a services block, because everywhere you put it on the site, you want it to be exactly the same. So what we'll do here is I'm going to insert another container. I'm going to make this one 3 columns though. And in there, I'm going to put an info box and another one in there, another one in there, and that might be service 1, service 2, service 3, and there'll be some descriptions there. Now I can go into each one of these and customize them, change the icon of the picture, add a specific call to action button underneath each one. I won't do this in this video, but you've got your list of services, a block here, as a block I should say, set out and laid out how you want it to be. So I'm going to do kind of the same thing. So I'm going to go there and create pattern reusable block. But this time I am going to sync it. And what I'm telling WordPress here to do is, if I want each of these instances of this block, however many there are on the site, to sync up and all be the same. So I'm going to create that now. And we can see this has changed. We've now got a services block there. I'm going to go add after, because I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'll click the plus up here. Now if I look at patterns and my patterns, what's there is the non-syncing patterns that I've created before. In behind here is my synced patterns. Now I've confused myself by creating a couple of other things here, but that's the one I just did. So I'm going to put that there on the same page, which you wouldn't normally do. Normally these would be on different pages, but just for the sake of the exercise, I'll change one so you can see how the other one changes. I'm going to call that now service A, and service B, and service C, and we'll see how it was changing down the bottom there as well, because these guys are syncing. If I change it in one place, it changes everywhere else. Now this also holds true for wherever I've got this services block on other pages in the site, or other posts in the site, or anywhere else that appears. If I change it in one place, it will automatically update everywhere else. And that includes the icons or any links that I put in here, or anything. So that can be really useful. As I mentioned before, a great example of that is if you've got a block with short links to services or some key products or key offerings. That can be a great way. I can just drop that on the bottom of any page that is relevant to be done. All right, that's it for today. Syncing blocks versus non-syncing blocks. Big time saver. Make use of it. Thanks for watching. If you feel like clicking one of these around here, that'd be really good. Don't forget the like button below, and I'll see you in the next one.